Hey guys, this is Matt with BleepinJeep.com, and today we're going to be installing the Crusader sliders from JCR Off-Road onto the Zombie Jeep. Now these sliders are awesome. JCR offers two different sliders. This one is the Crusader, the other one is the Deluxe or the standard version. Now the Deluxe and the standard version are a little bit heavier duty, or if you're going to be doing some hardcore extreme rock bouncing, that kind of thing. Since this Zombie Jeep isn't going to see a lot of hardcore off-road use, these Crusader sliders are going to be pretty awesome. And they seem to be really tough anyway, but JCR does recommend that you use these for just up to medium duty use. And for the Deluxe sliders, you can use those for some hardcore stuff. Don't forget, before we get started, check out JCR Off-Road's website for these sliders and more at JcrOffroad.com. And check out my website, BleepinJeep.com, for all the best off-road videos on YouTube, none of the boring stuff. We've also got hats and t-shirts like this one, muffler bearings, flux, capacitors, and more. So check that out at BleepinJeep.com. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so here's all the tools that I used. Installing these sliders is quite involved. Now you don't have to have all of these tools, but it would help. I'm not going to go over them, but you'll see them as I get to them in the video. The next step is to take off your fender flares, which I've just done. If you need help doing that, well, I feel for you. No, just kidding. I know you guys can do it. Now, if your Cherokee has these little stick-on bumper things, you'll just need to peel off this first one right here. Now you need to clean that up somehow because the JCR sliders have a cutout right there, so you'll be able to see through it. I'm going to mask it off and paint that part red, but you can take a razor blade and kind of get all this, stick them off first. Now right under that same area there's these bolts that hold the fender on. You'll need to take out that rear bolt because one of the brackets actually needs to fit right there. So that's a Torx 27. And go ahead and break off that little clip as well. Okay, so we're going to have to put those sliders on here on and off a couple times. So I'm just taking some masking tape, masking this off so that we don't scratch the paint. And a little bit of tape right there. Now the next step is to put these brackets onto the sliders themselves. Now these brackets tie into the unibody and the frame and the pinch seam. So there is 4 brackets for each side, and this happens to be the one for the rear. It's different because it has this bolt hole on the side. And then there's this one which goes here, and this one is the same, it goes on the front. And this happens to be just a little short one, which goes right here, but we're not going to put that one on just yet. Now, you want to make sure to go ahead and paint these brackets, because once we get this installed on there, we're not going to take these brackets back off, just the sliders. Now, JCR recommends that you don't paint the sliders until you know everything's going to fit. I've gone ahead and just painted those, and if I need to touch them up in a little bit, I will. So the first thing you're going to do is just put 2 of these in each one for now. We're just going to hold them in there temporarily, and you're going to use these bolts here with the locking nuts on the back. We're just going to put these on there temporarily and then line everything up on the Jeep. Alright, so I've got those all in there. The secret is to make sure that these are loose. You don't want to tighten those up just yet. Now, either have a helper help you get this over there, or get your jack prepared with a block of wood on it, and then we'll put this in position. And once you get it propped up like that, you'll need to bring in another jack and jack it up on the outside, which will push it up towards the body. Alright, now this is the most important step. What we want to do is have that straight across along the bottom. If you get it up too high, you won't be able to open your doors. You want to make sure that it's pushed in all the way and that there's a straight line pretty much level across the bottom of the doors. Right now it's a little too high on this side, in which case I'll have to lower this jack down just a little bit. And I'll need to maneuver that until I get it just right. Alright, once you're satisfied that it's absolutely perfect, go ahead and mark your spot right there on that first hole. Okay, then we're going to take a punch and just punch it. And then we're going to take a drill, start off with a smaller drill bit, and we'll work our way up to 5/16 with just two bits here. Alright, so now for that hole we've got one of these bolts here, and on that one we can reach the back side, so we're just going to use a washer and a nut on the back here. Pull that out a little bit. Alright, once again we're going to take this off here in a minute, but I'm going to tighten this down so that I can make my next hole. Okay, so now we're on the very back bolt here at the back of the Jeep. I've got more control now. I can just let down that jack a little, because as you can see it's too high. That's too low. I'll get it right about there and then we'll mark it. Alright, so on that one we can't get to the back side of it, so JCR gives you these, some kind of crush sleeve nuts, and to get that in there we're going to need to drill a larger hole and then hit that in there. I'll show you how to do that, but first we need to lower down the jacks. And now I'll use Big Bertha. Now this is a 17/32 bit, which is supplied with the kit. Alright, now let me show you how to install this thing. JCR gives you this little tool. It's actually just a bolt, and then you're going to put it in here and crank it down. First I'm going to put a little bit of RTV around the outside just to make sure it's watertight. This was actually a lot better quality nutsert thing than I expected, and it actually seals up really tight, and I don't think any water would get in there anyway, but just in case I'm going to put a little bit of RTV on there. Alright, then you're going to take that and you're just going to slide it in. Then you're going to take a 11/16 wrench and hold on to that nut right there. And then take this and push kind of hard and then hit it. Now once you get to the end you'll feel it kind of tighten up. Then you'll just hit the reverse and pull it out. Now you don't have to have air tools, but it does make the job a lot easier. And then we're just going to clean up that RTV. And now you've got a nice little nutsert there, and you can stick a bolt right in there, nice and clean. Alright, now I'm going to lift that back in place and then put the screw in there. Alright, now JCR recommends to put some anti-seize on there. You don't want that getting stuck in there. Even on this initial installation, we're going to have to take this out again, but you don't want to get that stuck in there and then have the nutsert rotating on the back side. Okay, now that I've got that locked down, we can go ahead and start marking some other holes. Alright, so I've got it bolted down with 2 bolts on either end, and I do have the jacks holding the rest of it in place still. And it's in the perfect spot, so now I'm going to go ahead and mark the rest of these holes on the outside here. Now for these holes here, I'm going to mark those and drill them to 5/16. On these holes over here, I'm going to mark those and drill them with a small drill bit, but we won't be able to get Big Bertha in there and drill it out with that large drill bit until we drop everything down. Okay, now for the fun part. What we need to do is crawl underneath the Jeep here, and each one of these brackets, we need to lift it up into place, probably about there, and then where you need to drill out those holes into the frame. Now those are 5/16, and then once you get those drilled, JCR provides these bolts that are self-tapping, So we're going to drill 5/16 inch holes and then put these self-tapping bolts in and work our way across. Alright guys, once you get all those holes drilled and the bolts installed, including this last one on the leaf spring perch, which is a little bit bigger, once you get that done, your arms are going to be sore and tired, which means it's time to lift this off and drill some more holes. So what we're going to do now is start unbolting the rock rail and just leave the brackets. We'll take the rock rail off. Now I'm going to take a jack and lift this up, and then we'll need to drill more holes. Once I get the holes drilled in the pinch seam, we'll put these bolts in here with just a regular nut and washer on the back. And then I'll keep going all the way across. Okay, now don't forget this little short bracket that we left out earlier. It goes somewhere right about here. And to figure that out, you're supposed to measure from the center of this last bolt here, and you're supposed to go 11 3/4 inches. So let me get my pen here. I'm going to go 11 3/4 inches, mark a dot, and then we're going to drill that point. And we'll bolt it up and drill our other hole. Alright, now it's time to drill out and install the rest of these nutserts. Now remember that these front ones here you can get to the back, so we're not going to use the nutserts on those. We're only going to use the nutserts on the last 4 bolts down here, which you can't get to the back, and that's why we're using the nutserts to begin with. So I will drill those out now. Alright, now I can remove the tape. Alright, now I'll get the jack ready and some of these flush bolts as well, and then we'll go get it. Alright, so I got 2 bolts holding this in right now, one on the front and one on the back. Now what I'm going to do is go underneath and take these flush mount bolts and these locking nuts, and we're going to put those We're going to put those on the underneath just loosely so that it doesn't bind up just yet. Then I'm going to go ahead and install all the ones on the top. Okay, so all of the bolts down here are loosely installed, and now I'm just going to go ahead and install these 3 bolts here and work my way across. Alright, now all the bolts are installed. What I'm going to do now is to go ahead and tighten these up along the top here. That will suck everything to the body. And then after I get that done, I'm going to go to the bottom and tighten those down. And just a little finishing touch there with some trim adhesive and just a little sliver of that plastic stuff there. Alright, so now all I need to do is come through, touch up a little bit of paint here and there. I'm also going to paint these little bolt heads black to match. And the last thing we'll need to do is put the fender flares on. Now the front fender flare fits pretty good as is. On the back one here, I notched out just a little piece right here just to fit around the back part of the rock rail right here, but in the back there. And a little razor blade or some tin snips work pretty good for that. Just notch that out. Then you're going to have to paint it afterwards too, so keep that in mind. And then all we have to do is bolt these back on. Alright guys, so check it out. I got the fender flares back on, and right here, as you can see, I just had to make that little notch like I said, and in the front I didn't have to notch it at all. It just fit perfectly. Don't forget to check out our website, BleepinJeep.com. We've got all the best off-road videos on YouTube, none of the boring stuff. We've also got hats and t-shirts, stickers, and other cool stuff. So check it out, BleepinJeep.com. Also, for this armor and more, check out JcrOffroad.com, where they've got this armor, they've got bumpers, they've got sliders, they've got all kinds of other great stuff. JcrOffroad.com. Do subscribe to both of our YouTube channels and our Facebook pages as well. Leave your comments below, and we'll see you next time.